Group's over. I want to respect the time boundary. And we have about 10 minutes to, if there are any questions from the audience or comments, or any comments or questions from the group about what that experience was like for you, or if anyone has any questions about what it was like for me as the leader. Okay.
So thank you so much for all of you for participating in that. I'm still not really sure what that was supposed to accomplish, because for me, it just felt like a complete pain and anger spiral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know what the outcome could be in that kind of a setting.
Mm-hmm. Well, as the leader, I, about 10 minutes into it, just started feeling a very strong urge to fix. And this kind of work is not about fixing. It's about being together. It's about not about what's wrong with you, but what happened to you, or what are you feeling. And so I think this topic invites a strong urge to fix. And there are no easy fixes. And so that's why, we have half an auditorium here today, because who wants to come here on a Friday afternoon and think about this kind of thing? It's very difficult. So my idea was that the group was walking through the issue with all the feelings and all the unknowns. And my thinking was that Elizabeth's voice toward the end started to turn toward the, then Emily used the word creativity. Mm-hmm. But the group had a lot of courage to be thoroughly honest about what they were experiencing.
And I think like the thought that came to my mind when you spoke, Kate, was that interesting that the topic is often, people get arrested because of actions, not because of feelings. Right? I say this to kids all the time. No one ever died from a feeling. No one ever died from a thought. People die from actions. And that, like, here we were holding very difficult feelings. I was uncomfortable at times. Not acting on them, right? The whole point was this was being created and nobody was acting on it. We weren't acting by necessarily giving advice or acting by, acting out towards each other. So, which is very different, than the topic. That's the whole population that we're dealing with ends up around action.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think one of the things that's very difficult for me in the real world, dealing with so many different things coming at me, is to, maintain a composure, to maintain a particular professional demeanor. In a group like this, I can talk about the feelings that I'm having. I can say, oh God, I am so angry, but I'm not acting on it. I think Susan goes right to the point there. We're not acting, we're talking about what we're feeling.
I want, yeah.
Processing your experience, and if you don't process, you can't live it. You can't live it the way you want to live it. I mean, I think it shows the value of therapy for anybody and everybody that lives and breathes. Life is complicated. Life is difficult. And if we are not in tune with what we think and feel, we let it channel someplace over here that doesn't direct the issue. If I've been abused and I push that abuse down and I don't deal with it, I will hurt someone else or myself. We have to process our life experience. And as an audience member, sometimes it's like, who cares what they're going through? I don't care. But you care. You care because it's your experience, or I care when it's my experience, and I have to process it with somebody, somewhere, safe and respectable, who honors the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes out of me.
Anyone else? Oh, okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm really excited because I've had a lot of really life-changing stages in like the last few years of my life, like the last 7 years. So I've gone from working with children to elder abuse to now working in a local jail. And I've spent my last 5 years of my career focusing on trauma-informed care and trauma across the lifespan and what happens to older adults who have experienced trauma from childhood all the way through to the aging process. And the one thing that has kept me going and kept me so happy and loving my work is giving voice to people who don't have the voice or the power or the ability to problem solve. So even though I'm working with incarcerated people now, and I never thought I would be doing that because I was always working with the victims. And I was always, I've been a victim myself. So being able to give people a voice, I think you teachers are amazing to be with the kids in the school, going through these awful, terrible things and having these awful punishments happen to them, which also happen in the jails and they also happen in the communities, but you're giving them a safe space and you're giving them an opportunity to voice to at least you what's going on with them, and they know that that is possible. Some of these kids I don't think ever have the possibility, and even some of the adults don't ever have that possibility, but you're giving it to them. Hooray. Sorry.
Sarah?
Excuse me, pardon my reach.
And then one more question and we'll have to stop.
This is really kind of a comment, but because so much of this conversation of the group conversation in particular, has gone to schools. The Rochester City School District a number of years ago, the school board voted to move ahead with a program of starting to instill restorative justice practices at the school level. And just this morning, in an RCSD article on the passage of the budget, was one of our sitting commissioners, who's been sitting for a number of years, and she voted against the restorative justice proposal a few years ago because, in her words, quote, restorative justice is inconsistent with her Christian faith. I sent her an email, and I got a very curt response back. How do you deal with people who are in seats of power, as she is, and she's intimately aware of the unequal treatment of particularly children of color in our district, yet she is a barrier to moving forward? It's very frustrating. That was just my comment.
I'm glad you rephrased it as a comment because we don't have the answer to that question. There was one more question over here, I think.
We've got one here, and can we do two more?
Two more and then we'll
All
stop.
Okay. I almost forgot. Oh, I just want to say that I was encouraged and impressed with the vulnerability that the group showed. It
Yes.
fit right in with what Dr. Ford had said earlier about learning how to be vulnerable, and that encouraged other people to open up and share and find your commonality. So I saw that dynamic working, and it was quite impressive.
I appreciate you pointing that out. I'm really impressed with the group and very grateful for your willingness to risk. It's very brave to be up here, especially with microphones. So I'm very, very appreciative. Wonderful work. There's one more?
Hello. Thank you all for all you've done today. It's been a great program. I just wanted to offer a comment, bringing it back a bit to the justice-involved individuals that we're all here to consider how we can do better for that population. Mr. Gregoire Carter and I work for Pastoral Corporation in Reentry Services, and we have the pleasure of running cognitive behavioral interventions with the folks that we serve. And I just want to thank you all again for this presentation of how group can function, and in the context of the discussion around feelings versus actions and the value of processing. One of the speakers earlier mentioned just the constant aggression and the need for kind of the mask of the incarcerated experience. And I think that for this population, there just isn't that space for processing. readily available. And so in considering the value of this practice for that population in particular, it just seems hugely valuable because, other than written pages and, maybe 6-minute phone calls, processing, doesn't happen enough for the folks that we work with on a daily basis. And I find personally that in the work that I do, which is, career-oriented work, we're trying to get, individuals back into the workforce. But we have to do a lot of processing of what's happened before they get to our office with them before they're ready for that. So thank you again for, what you shared with us and the power of this tool.
Yeah, especially inviting the feelings of rage and hate and pain, aggression. Thanks for speaking.
Chris, can I respond to the first question that was asked?
Yeah,
I'm
do.
a slow processor. I really appreciate your comment on what's the use, and I think for me as a participant, it is really useful to be able to express my anger, frustration, rage, because there's not a lot of people that can handle that. And so to have spaces where I can do that is it feels like an outlet. And thinking about solutions, I think that having spaces to express difficult experiences and feelings goes hand in hand with being then able to say, okay, what then? What now? How can I approach any possible solutions? Because I can't be creative when I'm in fight or flight mode. It's not possible. And so I think I've experienced that, and I've also seen that in students and adults that I work with in group settings. So I think that creativity and anger are really interconnected, and being able to let things. What do you do with all your anger, right? It's I don't know sometimes, but being able to have places where I can drop it off, it lightens the load a bit.
Thank you very much, David. And with that, we'll end. Once again, thanks to the group. Thanks to all those that were at the podium with us today. Sigrid Britton has prepared some beautiful food for us to enjoy, and there'll be live music outside. But before we break, Bill Watson, are you here? Are you up for talking, saying what you had offered? Okay, great. Go ahead, Bill.
I just wanted to highlight, as a member of the organizing committee, that I'm Bill Watson. As a member of the organizing committee, I wanted to highlight that this is a whole afternoon is intended as a fundraiser for the Group Foundation, which is the fundraising arm of the American Group Psychotherapy Association. And so the money raised from this afternoon will go directly to supporting the training of group therapists in the Rochester community, so that we can have an increased number of individuals who can provide capable, effective mental health services and effectively emotionally attuned connection to the group therapy community here in Rochester. So with that in mind, I want to encourage all of you to donate beyond your ticket for today. Now, the best way to do that, I'm not sure, although two things occur to me off the top of my head, and if you have ideas, Chris, let me know. But one is we are selling some lovely wine at a fundraising price of $10 a glass. Drink lots of wine. Or I want to encourage people to also feel free to buy a glass of air for $10. The money will go straight to the group foundation. If you want to buy a glass of air, you can put that order in at the counter as well, and that air will go toward the freedom of breathing towards people in the Rochester community. Other thoughts about that?
Thanks very much, Bill. If you really want to go for it, you can write a check and give it to me.
That's very pragmatic. Thank you, Chris.
Or people at the registration desk. Also, if you know anyone that you think, or if you might like to apply for a scholarship, there is a little sheet of paper on the registration desk that will tell you how to do that, the website to go to. Or you can talk to me or Stephanie if you'd like, or Bill. So without further ado, let's go have some fun. Thank you very much for coming.
Book signing?
Oh, book signing. Yeah, we have a lot of books that Elizabeth wrote, a lot of copies. She's prepared to sign, and it's a $20 donation for the book. That will be in where the food is, sort of off to the side. You'll see her. Okay? Elizabeth, thank you very much for coming.